And welcome back to the Get Lit podcast, a podcast brought to you by Southern Lighting Solutions. My name is McHugh David, co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions. I am joined by my fellow co-founder. It has been a minute. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
I'm introducing myself again because, as is typical fashion, my name is Tarek and my fantastic partner over here, Mr. McHugh, decided for the first few minutes to forget to turn on the camera.
It has been a minute since we have been in the booth. I'm a little rusty. I do apologize.
But this is going to be deja vu.
Well, no, because it is recording this time. But I do apologize for that. I do appreciate our viewers and listeners giving me a little reprieve, giving us a little patience. My mother-in-law did have cancer, did not survive that battle, and we've been working through that as a family. Finally kind of coming out the other side. There's still some grief, but trying to get back to a little bit of a routine, which means, unfortunately, joining this guy here in the booth. Oh, yeah. Today, we're going to be talking about, during that time that we've been off air, we've been working pretty diligently, especially this guy here, replacing lights inside of our office. We've replaced panels up front with what we call our 2x4 lay-ins. They're one-for-one type replacements. We're going to get to that in a second. But really where the big changes came was in our back shop, in our workshop area.
Oh, yeah.
We had 8-foot tubes back there, mostly 8-foot tube lights that were about on the end of 4-foot conduit, would you say? They were hanging.
Yeah, they're hanging about 4-foot conduit from the beams. Yeah.
Right, because it's a I wouldn't call it a steeple roof, but it's an angled roof, and it comes to a peak. And, as we began the process, we were taking these LED high bays and hanging them on the end of those 4-foot conduits. And we kind of realized that really wasn't the best approach. So tell us how we kind of worked through adjusting how we hung those lights.
Well, the long story short is basically you walked in and was like, those look like they're a bit too low. And me and Matt, God bless his soul, were like, we were actually just discussing that a few minutes before you came in. And we turned around and just raised them right back up to the ceiling.
And I mean, what's interesting is because of beam angle and the way that works, that changed the whole thing.
Well, yeah, because they're widespread. Lights.
Right. And so we got better coverage. It almost looks like a different place back there. There are videos of the back shop before, and we will be uploading some pictures after and videos after we installed these new high bays in the back. You went back there with a lux meter, didn't you?
Right. So we were looking initially before we did the change anywhere from 70 to 100 lux on the ground. After we did the change, we're pushing 500.
Right. And we have fewer lights, lesser electric output.
Yep. We went from 2 by 110 watt 0.8 power factor ballast to we're using now 150 watt 0.97 power factor.
So tell us a little bit about what you just said. I know we've
I know I
say
it and I always get lost. Yes, basically, the higher the power factor, the closer the actual consumption to the wattage. So in this case, the 150 watt light is consuming 155 watts of power to give you the 150. Whereas before, for those two 110, so 220, you were consuming about 280, 290 watts of power to give out to 220.
So, that's very much interesting because they were pulling more power, but also with those old style ballasts inside, they're always on.
More or less.
Always pulling. I say always on. It's not like the lights themselves are always on. It's pulling that much power, but it's always pulling a little bit of power to help boot those tubes up as quickly as possible.
Sure.
So we were kind of able to not just reduce the number of tubes because we kind of...
Oh, and it's cooler back there as well.
Yes.
Not as much heat.
Less heat coming off, and we saw a lot of burn marks when we pulled those down.
Yeah. You had a few fires up there. That's
automatic fires, like things that we kind of laugh about them, but we weren't surprised.
No,
because it could get hot back there in that warehouse, especially up there. Heat rises, and so a lot of times, you turn those on, they might short out, they might just burn up. So we were dealing with all that. We have, unfortunately, a whole lot of waste because it was just a ton of lights, ton of tubes, that we're pulling a whole lot of power. So we're gonna have to work our way through dealing with that.
Yeah.
Moving up into the front, also kind of an interesting difference up here. I guess I'll figure out why you're getting.
I've never been showered with so many dead hornets.
Yeah, so we have a giant metal building where we are. And some of we have the Omega structure with the ceiling panels, and then there's a huge gap in between, especially where the peak
And
is.
very itchy insulation.
Yes. There is insulation on top of each ceiling tile.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the ceiling is peaked. And in some places, there are upwards of 12 feet in between the panels and the ceiling.
Sure.
It gets hot up there, and a lot of insects get in there, and then in some cases, some animals. So it's been very interesting lifting these panels up to get to, or lifting these ceiling tiles up to get to these panels to unhook them.
Right.
Um,
I always saw some pretty interesting nightmares up there.
and nightmares is a good way to put it. But not just in terms of critters, but also in terms of the way
the wiring,
Yeah,
the electrical work.
the electrical work has been interesting. Tell us about the one light where they couldn't quite get the conduit to the light, so they used tape to bring the wiring
Oh
to the
yeah,
conduit.
I mean, listen, I've seen some shady installations in my lifetime and work that I've done. I mean, this was on par with some of the craziest that I've seen. I mean,
Right.
this wouldn't even pass code in most third world countries.
Huh.
And
And they don't
I mean-
even really inspect that much, I wouldn't imagine.
no. I mean, this was 4 millimeter wire, which was connected to 2 millimeter wire, and it was connected with another stretch of wire, which was 3 millimeters. So it was all jerry rigged together, with some conduiting, some non-conduiting, and then trying to figure out where all the other wires were going, and some of the wires were just alive and just leaked out to the world. So if they'd come into contact with anything, you'd get a current going on.
Right.
So
Might have a fire.
you might have a fire. You might have any number of things. It might explain a lot of dead hornets up there.
They might have made contact with the live wires. That's
Yeah, so
unfortunate.
I mean, I took pictures of it, and I mean, it was astounding. And then pulling them apart and just starting to rewire, I ended up what I thought was the right conduit cable turned out to be the wrong conduit cable, so I had to reinstall a new conduit cable in there. And yeah, I mean, that was one of the nightmares. That was an interesting one. The other thing I noticed, was at one point they used conduiting, which is for AV cables. So your audiovisual cables, which are, I mean, you can use them for power cables, but they're not really intended for that purpose.
Right.
And they were up there.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason. I mean, and on another note, just going back to that previous story that we were talking about, those cables, it wasn't just white and black. There was red, yellow, and blue cables inside there as well. So, I mean, it was trying to figure out what on earth is going on inside here.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot. So, it's been quite an adventure working through each individual panel. I do want to mention that we have two sides to this building. There is an addition that was built in 1997. Those panels, once we got in a groove, were pretty easy to replace.
Oh, they were pretty straightforward, yeah.
Then there was the main building that was built in 1977. That is where we've been finding a lot of the fun stuff.
God bless your dad's soul.
Yes. Well, my dad was not an electrician. The building, actually the part of the building where we're sitting was built in 1977. This used to be the dark room, where they made negatives for the press and also printed out pictures even longer ago. But that's where we found a lot of the interesting electric hookups. Also want to mention that there was at one point you went into an office and you were going to lift those panels out and you ran into wood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's plywood blocking 2 lights with an attachment to some fixture in the ceiling that nobody knows what on earth it is. We tried to figure out if it was a sound system, if it was a radio system. We don't know. I mean, even the brand name that's there, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but that brand does not exist, as far as we can tell. I mean, the internet had no history of it.
Was it there to hold up that ceiling fan, maybe?
It's not a ceiling fan.
Oh. Because there is a ceiling fan, like, in that office,
Yes.
in the panel.
It's not a ceiling fan.
What a time to be alive, huh?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure it's a sound system, but, I mean, if it is a sound system, where's the sound controller? I mean, it's just wires and wires and wires.
Well, this used to be, I mean, we used to print a newspaper here at our office.
And there was radio and things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
There might have been radio communication in between offices or piping in radio music.
Sure.
Who knows?
Sure.
Who knows? But I mean, that's kind of the fun part about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Lots of this way and that way, and
absolutely
things going on. So it's been a very fun adventure journey. It's not quite done.
No, we're getting there. We're getting there.
We kind of had to take a break because we are going to have to figure out. We're going to have to take it slower in that office because we have to figure out what we're working with before we can get those panels out. So just want to tell people, like, first and foremost, the two of us, mostly you, I did a lot of the grunt work, but have figured out, this is how you replace these panels. So if you ever buy panels from us, please understand, if an electrician tries to charge you some sort of inordinate amount of money to replace these panels, don't. They are one-to-one type replacements. They're called lay-ins for a reason. You disconnect the old panel, lift it up, lift it out, lift this one in, and lay it into where the old one was sitting.
Yeah, it's straightforward. There's nothing complicated about it.
So let's talk a little bit.
Just be safe when you do it.
Yes, please. If you choose to do it yourself, please be safe.
Make sure you have a safe ladder. Don't do it by yourself. Make sure somebody's next to you. I mean, safety is key. But otherwise, no, they're simple.
And there's no instructional video or anything like that with this, so please don't run off and try to do it yourself if you don't have any experience with it.
Right.
We are just trying to, let you know that if you have experience, these are easy to use. All of our fixtures are very much designed to be replacements on the same electrical circuit.
We do have electrical companies that we do work with that, if you need it, will give very good rates.
Sure.
So.
Because they know we sent you.
Yeah.
So, but I want to talk a little bit about the energy savings because I think that's important. Like in my office, I have 6 total lights. And we replace them all with panels.
So each one of your 2x4s that you had inside your office, sir, were using 40 watts of power on a GAM 0.8 power factor ballast. And we switched them to 40 watt 0.98, so almost, actually an actual 40 watt LED panel. So effectively, 5 panels, LED panels was equivalent to 1 of your pre-existing fluorescent panels.
Right, because you have to calculate that each one of those had 4 tubes in it.
Yes.
So that was an important metric.
That was 160 times whatever,
Right.
to get you there. So that was A, there was huge savings there, and B, on the flip side was you haven't been turning on the air conditioner as much. There hasn't been a need to do that as much.
Because it's not as hot.
So there's another direct savings over there.
Right. And it's helpful too because this is South Louisiana. AC is kind of a necessity.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to turn it on too much because it does pull a lot of power.
Right.
The compressor does.
Right.
So, we've worked through a huge office space. What's that?
I'm shuffling my glasses. I wore the wrong glasses for this.
Oh, no. You're going to make it.
Yeah.
I promise. You're going to make it. So we just wanted to talk people through, this 14,000 square foot building. The interesting thing is when you consider how many lights were here before and how many lights are going to be here after, especially when you talk about tubes, having to replace tubes. It's a huge difference.
We're talking, we worked it out. We're a little over 80% power reduction.
Right.
On lighting.
On lighting.
And I mean, we'll know more, but we're expecting estimated about 30% power reduction from your air condition,
Right.
which is what we're looking at.
Because it won't be as hot.
Exactly.
So a lot of this stuff adds up, and
Right.
it all factors into saving electricity, and of course, you know, warranty and saving money are big. We're big on that.
Sure.
That's a big thing that we're pushing. So, anything else you'd like to say about our office project?
Oh, I mean, we expect a couple weeks. The showroom will be finally up and running. We've got a ton of product. It's not really doing all these fixes. Not really hindered what we're doing, going out, selling, assembling. We haven't really had any hindrances over there with our entire process. So um, we've had to slow down a bit here and there just while we were doing those upgrades, but we're looking forward to having the showroom up really soon, getting people in here to see what we got going on. Um, and the showroom's going to be interesting because we're not just going to showcase the typical products that people are used to seeing, which are, standard, but also a lot of the new architectural kind of lighting, whether it's through downlights or linear lights or interactive strip light. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be there,
Right.
both internal and external.
It's going to be fun putting all that together.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
We're gonna put a little European flair with American ingenuity.
There we go. There we go. And eventually, we are pushing towards doing some manufacturing here. We've talked about that before. We're not quite ready yet, but we will be. We're doing some assembly.
Well,
And
we're
we've done-
doing assembly. I mean, and you got to be careful with the term manufacturing because we are manufacturing our components, and then assembling them over here. We're not doing a lot of the core manufacturing in-house just yet. But that's all part of the plan. And as always, we have a good chunk of our products are, I will emphasize it, fully made in the United States. And we've been doing a lot of work and engineering to getting the price points to where they are exceptionally competitive against Asian products.
Right.
Obviously a bit more expensive, but not the kind of numbers that people are used to seeing and expecting.
Right. And that's the direction we're moving.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there may be a point when I can't wait to have videos and pictures to show y'all when we're possibly making our own LED boards and tape light.
There is talks for bringing in those SMT machines. Yeah, it's a bit down the road, but it's already well under discussion. To be able to produce the not the LEDs themselves, but the LED boards.
Right. So if you ever go back and look at some of our earlier podcasts, we talk about everything that goes into an LED light fixture.
Yeah.
The board is, of course, what channels the current into the chips to create the light.
Right. And I mean, the key there is going to be working with our exceptional partners, chip manufacturers that we work with, to use, their products in our board, so we maintain the consistent level of performance that is required, that we mandate in our products. And 90% of all our products carry a standard 5-year warranty, and that's for standard operating hours. Not 2-3 hours a day. No, 10, 12 hours a day.
Right.
That's our base minimum, and we just increase from there.
And we talk about warranty all the time too.
Oh yeah, warranty is key. Listen, I know we've discussed this before. We've said it before, but if something fails, we're gonna change it. If too many fail, we're gonna actually check why they failed. And we've seen that twice so far, and both times testing turned out there was a problem with the electricity in the location. So they got a replacement. We found the issue. We didn't make too big of a problem because not too many had gone out, so we caught it fast enough, if you will. And they got the electricians to go out there and just make simple changes. and everything's back smooth and running.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
But I mean, we're here.
Absolutely.
And
Solutions.
yes, we provide solutions. but
There,
we're
we got
here.
our solutions into the podcast for
There we
today.
go. Yeah. Aha.
Yeah, see?
What's that? Is it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Is that the movie where the Leonardo DiCaprio meme comes from, where he sees himself on TV? He's like
I
that?
think so, yeah.
Yeah. So at any rate, we are working on finishing to update our office, and we'd love to help you out. And eventually, the next step is our showroom,
Yep.
and then after that, we're going to be working on manufacturing. So
Yes, sir.
moving forward,
One step at a time.
yes, one step, as many steps as we can take.
We're trying to get into proper manufacturing.
Right.
That's really, really proper.
Yep, and we will be working on that. I hope sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
So, sir, if you'll give yourself an introduction.
My name is Tarek Al-Madini. I hear Tarek, Tariq, all kinds of variations. It's fantastic. And I am one of the co-owners of Southern Lighting Solutions.
And my name is McHugh David. I am a fellow co-owner, co-founder, whatever you want to call it, of Southern Lighting Solutions. We are here as a solution source for you with regard to LED lighting. We also have lots of other ways, especially for large sites, large companies, to save money. So please give us a shout. We want to help you out. We're also online, www.southernlightinginc.com. We're getting a website remodel. Excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We finally finished our catalog. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, right. So yeah, our catalog's finally done, which allows us
Our
to finish
updated catalog, yes.
updated catalog,
Yes.
which allows us to finish our website. So that'll be coming out soon. We can't wait to mention it. And as we said, go check out our catalog. It is on our social media.
Indeed.
And we will see you guys. Well, first I want to say we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, posting all sorts of fun stuff. And we will see you guys next time.